So Kate Middleton deliberately took a gap year the same year as Prince William. Now, this was in 2001 that Kate took her gap year before she enrolled at the University of St Andrews. And Prince William did a casual interview outside Highgrove House discussing his plans for university, the studies he was going to take, and obviously his plans to take a gap year, which was in Chile, and then attend the University of St Andrews. Now, obviously Kate got wind of this and she did the exact same plans as William had in line. And William spent 10 weeks in Patagonia from October to December 2000. Now, Kate's gap year was in Patagonia, and this was from January and March 2001. So this just shows that Kate did this deliberately because she'd literally just missed William in Chile by a whisker, literally by a whisker, because he went from October to December 2000 and she went from January to March 2001. So she'd literally just missed him. So all this, oh, it was just coincidence, rubbish. It's too close. Really? Are you telling me that that wasn't staged and orchestrated? Of course it was. Wake up. And obviously Carol was absolutely livid because the expense of her going out to Chile, Kate, that cost money. And I bet they thought that was a waste of time because she'd missed him, because that was the whole plan, to bump into each other in Chile whilst they were doing his gap year. And people just thought it was a bizarre coincidence, but it wasn't. It was orchestrated and staged. And for them to happen, just both of them on the same course, that's insane. That's not right. That's not fate. That's stalking. That's harassment. She harassed the prince. She had to stalk him because she wouldn't have got him any other way. So stop saying that she didn't follow him, because she did. And it was everything. Chile, the same gap year program, the same year. And when Kate heard that press conference outside Highgrove, she knew she had to go to Chile just so she could meet William, because she knew there'd be no other way to meet him. And it's a shame that he had to do that press conference, because he revealed what he was going to be studying at St Andrews University, and he said he was going to be doing history of arts. Now, Kate originally was going to study psychology at Edinburgh, and she decided to switch, and instead of doing psychology at St Andrews, she switched to history of arts, and she'd never done that before. So again, it's staged, done on purpose, and she just solely focused on art history. And someone said, really? And she had to do it because she knew she had to study the same subjects so she could reside in the same hall as William did, Salvator's Hall at St Andrews University. And I wonder what she would have done if she'd have never heard that press conference, because without that, she would have been screwed. She'd have had nothing. There'd have been no information of where he was going, what subjects he was going to take. But because the press make deals with the royal family and they threaten them and say, look, if you don't give us some information, we'll go and write some negative stories about you and ruin the monarchy. So that's why he had to do it, just to keep the press sweet. And just to study the exact same subject, it's madness. It's not, it was done deliberately. She deliberately changed her subject because she knew that she would end up in the same class as him. Now, the bad thing was, William wanted to leave St Andrews. He didn't like it there. But the men in the grey suits said, look, you'll have to stay on. And then obviously said, all right, then I'll stay on. But then he switched a subject and he moved on to geography. And obviously Kate was absolutely fuming that she did all that and he switched classrooms and he went somewhere else. And during their first year, they were in the same class. But then the next year, he found history of arts quite challenging, so he did swap. And then it was geography, which he did in the second year. He preferred it a hell of a lot more. And then sorry, got something in my eye, there we go. And this meant that Kate would never see him again because she'd swapped classes, but it meant that they both started in the same department. But then the switch meant that they weren't in the same courses anymore for the majority of that degree. And I just think she was so angry that the whole plan had backfired on her, because she thought, for God's sake, I've taken history of arts to get near the prince. I've done this, I've sought universities, and then he goes and moves to geography. And I bet she was like, really? But that's life, Kate, I'm afraid. It's not all plain sailing. And I just think it's disgusting how the press and the journalists and all the media say, oh no, Kate wanted to study history of arts. She didn't. She didn't want to. She only did history of arts because of Prince William, okay? So I think you just need to realise that she stalked him. It was all orchestrated. It wasn't love. It was harassment. She was literally following him everywhere, to class, at breakfast, always walking about with his friends. His friends didn't like them. They didn't like her. They did not like Kate because they knew she was putting on a front, the posh accent. They didn't like her, and it wasn't going to wash with them. I know William fell for it, but his friends weren't.